On Father's Day, my daughter Olivia handed me socks worth $15, smiling as if they were a treasure. That same evening, I saw a Rolex gleaming on her father-in-law's wrist, a $10,000 gift bought with my money, the same money she'd sworn was for vital expenses. She called me 17 times begging me, "Daddy, don't do this." But the truth is, I had already chosen my path, and once I did, there was no turning back. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel, and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The sun poured through the living room windows, painting golden streaks across the worn-out couch, where I sat, waiting for Olivia. My daughter had promised a Father's Day surprise, and despite the years of quiet disappointments, a flicker of hope stirred in me. The old clock on the mantel ticked relentlessly, each second a reminder of the time I'd poured into her, 20 years since her mother's death, every sacrifice etched into my bones. The room smelled faintly of lemon polish, a habit I'd kept from my late wife, though the family photos on the shelf were the real anchor here. Olivia as a gap-toed kid, me beaming beside her at her graduation. Us together, always us. The doorbell chimed and my heart lifted. I opened the door to find Olivia, her auburn hair swept into a sleek bun, her designer coat too crisp for our modest Chicago suburb. She held a small gift bag, the tissue paper crumpled like an afterthought. Her husband Liam loomed behind her, his smirk as polished as his loafers. "Happy Father's Day, Daddy," Olivia said, her voice sweet but edged with something sharp, like a blade wrapped in silk. She thrust the bag into my hands, her smile tight as if she were posing for a photo she didn't want to take. I forced a grin, my fingers brushing the rough tissue. "Thanks, sweetheart." The bag felt light, insubstantial. I sat back on the couch, aware of their eyes on me. Olivia's expectant, Liam's faintly amused. The clock ticked louder, or maybe it was just my pulse. I pulled out a pair of navy socks, the kind you'd find in a discount bin for $15. The price tag was still attached, dangling like a taunt. My chest tightened, but I kept my face neutral. "Socks," I said, holding them up. "Practical. Always dreamed of these." Olivia's laugh was high, brittle. "Exactly. Something useful, right? Not like you need anything fancy." Her manicured nails gleamed as she adjusted her scarf, the gesture casual but deliberate, a reminder of the gulf between us. Liam chuckled, leaning against the doorframe. "Yeah, Paul, you're a simple guy. No need for extravagance." His tone dripped with condescension, and I felt the room shrink, the air growing thick with their shared smugness. I nodded, folding the socks with care I didn't feel. "Appreciate it, both of you." My voice was steady, but my hands trembled slightly, betraying the storm inside. I glanced at the photo of my late wife, Ellen, her soft eyes watching from the frame. Had I failed her, raising a daughter who treated me like an obligation? The thought stung, but I pushed it down. You staying for coffee?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Oh, we've got plans," Olivia said, checking her phone. "Dinner with William, Liam's dad. You know how he is always hosting." She exchanged a quick glance with Liam, a flicker of something I couldn't place. Secrecy maybe, or triumph. My stomach twisted, but I let it pass. They were out the door in minutes, leaving the house quieter than before. The clock's ticking now, a hammer against my skull. I carried the socks to the kitchen, needing to move to do something. The gift bag snagged on the counter's edge, the tissue tearing like a balsa wood promise. I set the socks down and reached for a mug, my hands unsteady. The memory hit me then. Olivia's college tuition, $40,000 a year, paid by selling my dream of a boat, a retirement on the water. I told myself it was worth it, that she'd carry our family's love forward. The mug slipped from my grip, shattering on the tile floor. I stared at the pieces, jagged and irreparable, my breath ragged. Had it all been for nothing? I swept up the shards, each scrape of the broom fueling the ache in my chest. Olivia's voice echoed in my mind. "Something useful, right?" And I wondered when she'd stopped seeing me as her father and started seeing me as a means to an end. The kitchen smelled of coffee now, bitter and grounding. I sat at the table, the socks mocking me, from the counter. My laptop was open, a habit from years of checking work emails. But today I clicked on social media, needing a distraction. That's when I saw it. A photo posted an hour ago by Olivia. William, Liam's father, grinning at a restaurant table, his wrist adorned with a gleaming Rolex, the kind that screamed money. Her caption read, "To the best father-in-law, a gift that matches your class." My blood ran cold. I clicked the image, zooming in. The watch's face glinted under the restaurant lights. Unmistakable. I remembered her call 2 months ago, her voice trembling. "Daddy, I need $10,000. It's vital for medical stuff." I'd wired the money that day, no questions asked. My hands shook as I stared at the screen. The socks lay forgotten, the clock ticked on, and something inside me snapped. Not loudly, but quietly, like a lock sliding into place. Olivia had called me 17 times later that day, her voice frantic. "Daddy, don't do this." But she didn't know I was already on a path, with no room for regret. The kitchen was dim now, the afternoon light choked by gathering clouds. The broken mug shards lay in the trash, but the bitter taste of betrayal lingered, sharper than the coffee cooling in my cup. The laptop screen glowed, William's Rolex burning into my retinas. I zoomed in again, as if the pixels might reveal some mistake, some explanation. Olivia's caption mocked me. A gift that matches your class. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling with a fury I hadn't felt in years. $10,000. My money called at vital expense, now glittering on her father-in-law's wrist, while I held $15 socks. I slammed the laptop shut, the sound sharp against the kitchen silence. The clock in the living room ticked on, relentless. Each second a reminder of the years I'd given her. Every late shift, every dream deferred. I stood, my chair scraping the tile, and grabbed my jacket. I needed air, space to think, anything to dull. The rage clawing at my chest. The socks stayed on the counter, their price tag, a silent accusation. Outside, the Chicago suburb was too perfect. Manicured lawns, blooming alas, a facade of harmony that hid the rot beneath. The sky was heavy, promising rain, and the air smelled of damp grass. I walked toward the park, my steps quick, as if I could outrun the image of that watch. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Olivia again. Her 17th call today. I ignored it. The vibration against my thigh, a faint echo of my pulse. "Daddy, don't do this," she'd pleaded earlier. But what did she think I'd do? Forgive her. Pretend I hadn't seen. The park was quiet, the swings swaying, slightly in the breeze. I stopped by the old wooden bench, where I used to push Olivia on the swings, her laughter filling the air. A memory surfaced, unbidden, her at 6, pigtails bouncing, promising she'd always be your little girl. I'd believed her then, believed in the bond we'd built after Ellen's death. Now that promise felt like a lie, as hollow as the gift bag she'd handed me. I sat, the bench creaking under me, and stared at the empty swing. The Rolex flashed in my mind, a taunt I couldn't shake. "Paul, that you?" A voice broke my thoughts. It was Carl, my neighbor, jogging by with his spinannial. His round face was flushed, friendly as always. I forced a smile, standing to meet him. "Didn't expect to see you out here," he said, reining in his dog. "Thought you'd be celebrating with Olivia." "Celebrating's done," I said, my voice flatter than I meant. Carl tilted his head, curious, but I waved it off. "Just needed a walk." He nodded, scratching his dog's ears. "Saw your girl downtown last month, at that fancy jewelry store on Oak Street. Looked like she was picking out something big." He chuckled, oblivious to the bomb he just dropped. "Guess she's got expensive taste, huh?" My throat tightened. "Yeah, I managed. She does." The park spun slightly, the swing's chains blurring. Oak Street, the jewelry store, the Rolex. Carl kept talking something about the weather, but I barely heard him. My mind raced, piecing it together. Olivia, not at a doctor's office, but in a glittering store, spending my money on a watch for William. The betrayal sank deeper, a blade twisting in my gut. "Got to get home before the rain," Carl said, jogging off with a wave. I stood frozen, the first raindrops speckling my jacket. The park felt smaller, the swing a relic of a life that no longer existed. I walked back, my steps heavier now, the anger hardening into something colder, more focused. Olivia had lied, and Liam had laughed, and I'd been the fool who trusted them. Back in the kitchen, the socks were still there, a pathetic contrast to the Rolex's gleam. I opened my laptop again, the photo still on the screen. My hands were steady now, the trembling gone. I typed Oak Street Jewelry Store into the search bar, my jaw tight. The clock ticked, but it wasn't just time slipping away. It was the illusion of my daughter. I clicked on the store's website, a plan forming, sharp and unyielding. I needed to know if that watch was real, if her betrayal was as brazen as it seemed. The rain tapped the window, steady as a heartbeat, and I knew there was no going back. The rain drummed on my windshield. As I pulled into the lot near Oak Street, the wiper rhythmic swish, the only sound in the car. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles pale, a folded print out of William's Rolex photo, tucked in my jacket pocket. Yesterday's shock had hardened overnight, into a cold, relentless need to know. The Chicago skyline loomed through the drizzle, its steel and glass indifferent to the storm brewing inside me. I stepped out, the air sharp with the scent of wet pavement and expensive perfume wafting from the boutiques. The jewelry store's sign glowed ahead, a beacon of truth or damnation. Inside the store was a world apart from my modest home. Polished marble floors, chandeliers casting prisms on glass cases, the air heavy with wealth. A young clerk in a tailored suit approached, her smile practiced. "Welcome, sir. Looking for something special?" Her voice was smooth, but I caught the quick glance at my rumpled jacket, my scuffed shoes. I didn't belong here, and she knew it. Neither did Olivia, but she'd walked these floors, spending my money. "I need information," I said, pulling out the printout. My voice was steady, though my heart pounded. "This watch? Was it purchased here?" I unfolded the paper, the Rolex's image, stark against the white background. The clerk's eyes flickered with recognition, and my stomach churned. She hesitated, glancing toward a man at the back, older, balding, clearly the manager. "Let me check with our jeweler," she said, taking the printout and disappearing behind a velvet curtain. I stood, the store's silence pressing against me, broken only by the faint tick of a display clock. That sound again. Time always slipping, always mocking. I thought of Olivia's call last night, her voice shrill through the voicemail. "Daddy, please just talk to me." I hadn't answered. Not yet. The manager emerged holding the printout. "I'm Mr. Kessler," he said, his tone professional but cautious. "This is a Rolex Daytona." "Yes. We sold one like it in March." He handed the paper back, his eyes studying me. "May I ask why you're inquiring?" My throat tightened, but I kept my gaze level. "It was a gift. I need to confirm it was purchased here. And who bought it?" I slid my credit card statement across the counter. The $10,000 charge circled in red. My hand didn't shake, though inside I was unraveling. "This is my account." "Nerve. Was it used for the purchase?" Kessler's face softened, a flicker of understanding. He tapped at a tablet, then nodded. "The transaction matches, paid in full. March 15th. A young woman made the purchase, accompanied by a man. She said it was for a family member." His words landed like a punch, each one confirming what I dreaded. "Olivia Liam, my money, was the watch real?" I asked, my voice low, almost a growl. Kessler raised an eyebrow, but he answered, "Absolutely, we don't deal in counterfeits. That piece was $200 with tax." He paused, sensing my tension. "Is there a problem, sir?" I forced a tight smile. "No problem, just needed to know." I took the printout and statement, folding them carefully as if they were evidence in a trial. The store's lights felt too bright now, the air too thick. I thanked Kessler and stepped back into the rain, my shoes splashing in shallow puddles. The truth was mine, and it was worse than I'd imagined. In my car, I sat, the printout crumpled in my fist. The rain blurred the windshield, and I saw Olivia's face in my mind. Not the woman who'd lied, but the girl who'd cried when I bandaged her scraped knee. A memory surfaced 2 months ago, her voice soft, desperate. "It's for medical bills, Daddy." I wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious. I'd believed her, wired the money, felt like a good father. Now I felt like a fool. I glanced at my reflection in the rearview mirror. Gray hair, tired eyes, but a hardness I hadn't seen before. The man staring back wasn't a Paul, who'd accepted socks with a smile. He was someone new, someone done being played. My phone sat on the passenger seat. Olivia's missed calls piling up. 17 yesterday, 3 more today. She knew I'd seen the photo. She knew I was asking questions. My fingers hovered over her name, the screen glowing in the dim car. The rain pounded harder, a drum roll, for the confrontation to come. I pressed call, my jaw tight, and waited as it rang. Whatever she said next, it wouldn't change the truth. The clock in my mind ticked louder, counting down to something inevitable. The rain hammered the roof of my car, a relentless drumbeat that matched the pulse in my temples. I sat parked outside my house, the Chicago suburb cloaked in evening's gloom, my phone glowing in my hand like a weapon. The printout of William's Rolex lay crumpled on the passenger seat, its edges curling, like a guilty secret. My thumb hovered over Olivia's name. Her missed calls, 20 now, stacking up like accusations. The truth I'd uncovered in the jewelry store burned in my chest. $10,000. My money spent on a watch for her father-in-law while I got socks. I pressed call, my jaw tight, the rain blurring the world outside. The line clicked, and Olivia's voice burst through, sharp and impatient. "Daddy, finally, why haven't you answered?" Her tone was a mix of relief and irritation, as if I were the one who owed her something. I gripped the steering wheel, the leather slick under my palm, and took a slow breath. "I've been busy," I said, my voice low, deliberate. "Had to check on something, like a $10,000 Rolex." The words landed like stones, and for a moment there was silence, just the rain's steady roar. I could almost see her pacing, her pristine living room, her manicured nails tapping her phone. "What are you talking about?" she snapped. But there was a tremor in her voice, a crack in her armor. "You're being ridiculous." "Am I?" I leaned forward, my eyes on the windshield. Where rain streaked like tears I refused to shed. "I went to the store, Olivia, Oak Street. They confirmed it. You used my card for William." My voice stayed even, but each word carried the weight of betrayal. The clock in my mind ticked, relentless, counting the seconds of her hesitation. She laughed, a brittle, forced sound. "God, you always make a mountain out of nothing." "It was a gift." "Okay, William's done so much for us. You wouldn't understand." Her condescension stung, but it was the panic beneath it that caught my attention. She was scrambling. "A gift," I repeated, my tone flat. "With my money. You told me it was for medical bills." "Vital, you said." My free hand clenched into a fist, nails biting my palm. "What else have you lied about?" "This isn't your business," she shot back, her voice rising shrill. "Now you don't get to control what I do. I'm not a kid anymore. Daddy." The word daddy was a mockery thrown like a dart. I remembered her at 16 begging for a designer dress, promising she'd make me proud. I believed her then, not now. "Then act like an adult," I said, my voice cold. "Explain it." Now the rain intensified, a curtain sealing me in. This moment, this reckoning. Olivia's breathing was audible, quick and uneven, and I knew she was cornered. "You're so petty," she spat. I don't have time for this." The line went dead, the silence louder than the storm. I stared at the phone, her words echoing. Petty, ridiculous, not your business. My chest ached, but it wasn't just pain anymore. It was resolve, hard and unyielding. I stepped out of the car, the rain soaking my jacket, my hair. The cold shocked my skin, but it cleared my head. I opened my phone's notes app, my fingers wet, and typed her words, each one a brick in the case I was building. "Not your business, Petty." The street was empty, the houses glowing with warmth. I no longer felt. Olivia thought she could dismiss me, but she'd miscalculated. I wasn't the pushover she assumed. I leaned against the car, the rain pooling at my feet, and remembered Ellen's voice, soft but firm. "Don't let anyone walk over you, Paul." I'd failed that promise for too long, but not anymore. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Mr. Thompson, I'm Elaine Carter, attorney. Heard you might need help. Meet me tomorrow, 9 a.m., 200 La Salle." I stared at the message, the rain blurring the screen. An attorney. A stranger. Offering a lifeline. My thumb hovered over reply. The clock in my mind ticking towards something new. The morning sun sliced through the blinds of Elaine Carter's office, casting stripes across a desk buried in papers and coffee mugs. The air smelled of stale espresso and old books, a cluttered contrast to the sleek Chicago high-rise outside. I sat across from Elaine. My bank statement spread before me like a map of my mistakes. The weight of last night's call with Olivia lingered. Her venom, "You're so petty," still stinging. But here in this chaotic office, I felt a flicker of something new. Possibility. The clock on the wall ticked, its hands slow but steady, a reminder that time wasn't done with me yet. Elaine leaned back in her chair, her gray blazer slightly wrinkled, her eyes sharp despite the laugh lines framing them. "So," she said, tapping a pen against her desk, "your daughter's got a taste for Rolexes, and a talent for lying." That about summed it up. Her voice was direct, laced with a dry humor that caught me off guard. I nodded, managing a tight smile. "Pretty much," I said, my fingers brushing the edge of a statement. The $10,000 charge glared up at me, a wound in black ink. She used my card, lied about it. In those socks, I trailed off, the memory of Olivia's smug smile twisting my gut. Elaine snorted. "Socks for Father's Day. Kid's got nerve." She leaned forward, scanning the documents. "But nerve doesn't pay for watches. Let's talk options. You want to protect what's yours, right?" Her question was blunt, but her tone held a warmth that made me trust her, or at least want to. I shifted in my seat, the chair creaking. "I do, but I don't know where to start. She's my daughter." The words felt heavy, a confession of my weakness. I'd spent 20 years building a life for Olivia. After Ellen died, every choice was for her. No trips to Europe, no hobbies, just her college, her wedding, her future. And now this. Elaine's expression softened, but her voice stayed firm. "You're not the first parent she's burned. Paul won't be the last unless you act." She slid a contract toward me. "I can help. Start with freezing her access to your accounts. Then we dig. See what else she's been up to." Her confidence was infectious, a lifeline I hadn't expected. I picked up the contract, the paper cool against my fingers. A memory surfaced. Olivia's wedding, her radiant smile, as I handed over the check for the venue. My dream of an Italian vacation fading with it. I told myself it was worth it, that she'd carry our family's love. Now I saw only her hand on my card, her lies piling up. I signed the contract, my pen steady, a quiet vow to myself. Elaine nodded, stacking the papers. "Good, we'll start with your bank. I'll need details, every transaction she's touched." She paused, her eyes meeting mine. "You sure about this? It's not just money, it's family." I stood walking to the window. Chicago sprawled below, its pulse relentless. "I've given her everything," I said, my voice low. "Time." I took something back. The words felt foreign but right. The clock ticked behind me. Its rhythm, a call to action, not regret. We talked details, accounts, timelines, legal steps. Elaine's humor broke the tension. Her quip about teaching Olivia, the value of a dollar drawing, a real laugh from me. I left her office lighter, the sun warm on my face. As I stepped onto La Salle Street, for the first time in days, I felt like I was moving forward, not just reacting. In my car, I checked my phone. Habit more than need. A bank alert popped up. A new transaction, $2,500, attempted on my card. Olivia's name was tied to it. Another bold grab. My jaw tightened, but I wasn't surprised. The clock in my mind ticked louder, urging me on. Whatever she was buying, she'd find out soon enough that my generosity had limits. The bank's marble floor gleamed under fluorescent lights, its chill seeping through my shoes. As I stood at the counter, the air hummed with the low drone of an air conditioner, sharp against the warmth of the May afternoon outside. In my hand, a form to block Olivia's access to my credit card, its lines stark and final. My pen hovered, the weight of 20 years. Her laughter, her tears, my sacrifices, pressing against the decision. But the Rolex's glint, her sneering, "You're so petty," drowned it all out. I signed. The scratch of ink. A small defiant act. The clock in my mind ticked steady, urging me forward. The manager, a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses, reviewed the form. "This will take effect immediately," he said. His voice clipped, professional. "The card's secondary user, Olivia Thompson, will be notified." He glanced at me as if expecting hesitation. I nodded, my face blank but my pulse racing. Notification. She'd know soon enough. "Appreciate it," I said, sliding the form back. My hands were steady, but inside, triumph warred with a quiet ache. Blocking her card wasn't just about money. It was about reclaiming the dignity she trampled. I left the bank, the glass doors hissing shut behind me, and stepped into the Chicago suburbs' glare, the sun bouncing off parked cars. I drove to a nearby cafe to meet Elaine, the place buzzing with lunchtime chatter. The smell of fresh coffee grounded me as I slid into a booth across from her. She was already there, her laptop open, a half-eaten scone on a plate. "Well," she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Did you pull the plug?" "Signed and done," I said, a faint smile tugging at my lips. "She's cut off." The words felt good, solid, like a door locking shut. Elaine grinned, leaning back. "Bet she'll love that more than those socks you got." Her humor was sharp, but her eyes held a quiet respect. "Your daughter's about to learn what a practical gift really means." She tapped her laptop. "I'm pulling records. Might find more of her shopping sprees. You ready for what we uncover?" I nodded, sipping my coffee. Its bitterness a match for my mood. I need to know everything. A memory flickered. Olivia's wedding, her hand on my arm, as I gave her access to my card, saying it'd help her start strong. I trusted her, thought it was love. Now I saw only her greed. The cafe's clock hung on the wall, its hands frozen at 11:43, a silent witness to my shift. Time wasn't slipping away anymore. I was stopping it, taking control. Elaine outlined next steps, tracking Olivia's spending, building a case. Her confidence steadied me. Our alliance a bridge, from the man I'd been to the one I was becoming. "You're doing this for you, Paul," she said, her voice softer now. "Not just to punish her. Remember that." I met her gaze, seeing not just an attorney, but a friend. Someone who saw my worth when I'd forgotten it. My phone buzzed, shattering the moment. Olivia's name flashed on the screen, her call urgent, angry. I let it ring, the sound swallowed by the cafe's hum. When it stopped, a voicemail popped up, her voice spilling out as I pressed play. "Daddy, what the hell did you do?" "My card's declined. Fix this now." Her fury was raw, unfiltered, a crack in her polished facade. I set the phone down, my coffee cup warm in my hands. Elaine raised an eyebrow, but I just smiled, thin and resolute. The clock in my mind ticked on, counting down to her next move and mine. The living room was dim, the last of the May twilight, seeping through the curtains, casting long shadows across the faded rug. I sat on the couch, the same one where I'd unwrapped Olivia's socks days ago, the memory now a bitter stain. My phone lay on the coffee table, its screen flashing with her name. 17 calls in the past hour, each one a jab at my resolve. The old clock on the mantel stopped years ago, stared silently, its frozen hands a mirror to my decision to halt her manipulations. Family photos lined the shelf. Amelia at 5, her pigtails bouncing. At 16, her graduation cap tilted. Those moments felt like another life, one where I wasn't the enemy. The phone buzzed again, insistent, her name pulsing like a warning. I let it ring, my fingers tracing. The edge of a photo frame, Ellen and Amelia laughing in a park. The vibration stopped, then started anew. A voicemail this time. I pressed play, bracing myself. Amelia's voice erupted, shrill and jagged. "Daddy, what the hell?" "My card's declined. Fix this or I swear we're done." Her words were a blade, slicing through the quiet. Done. As if I were the one who'd lied, who'd spent $10,000 on a Rolex for William while handing me $15 socks. I stood, needing to move, and walked to the kitchen. The air smelled faintly of lemon polish, a habit I'd kept for Ellen. My hands shook as I filled the kettle, but my mind was steady, hardened by her betrayal. Another call came, and this time I answered, my voice cold. "Amelia, stop calling." "Stop calling," she snapped, her tone a mix of disbelief and fury. "You cut me off, Daddy. How am I supposed to live?" "You're being selfish." Her accusation landed like a slap, but I didn't flinch. Selfish. After years of giving her college, her wedding, her lies. "Selfish," I said, my voice low, controlled. "You used my money for a watch for William. You lied about medical bills." "Explain that." The kettle hissed, steam curling like my anger. Silence stretched on her end, broken only by her sharp breaths. "It's not what you think," she said finally, her voice softer, manipulative. "William's important to us. You wouldn't get it. Just fix the card, please." The please was calculated, a child's plea from a woman who'd outgrown it. "No," I said, the word final. "You made your choices. Live with them." I ended the call, my heart pounding but my resolve intact. The phone buzzed again. Another voicemail. "You'll regret this," she hissed. Liam won't let this slide. Liam, her spineless husband, always in her shadow, now a threat. What were they planning? I set the phone down. It screamed dark now, and touched the stopped clock. Its brass cool under my fingers. A memory surfaced. Amelia at 10, running to me, after a fight with friends, her tears soaking my shirt. I'd been her safe place then. Now I was her obstacle. The kettle whistled, shrill as her voice, and I poured tea, the steam clouding my view of her photo. She wasn't that girl anymore. And I wasn't the father who'd forgive endlessly. My phone lit up again. Not Amelia this time, but a text from Elaine. "Police station tomorrow, 8 a.m. Amelia and Liam filed a complaint. I've got your back." My stomach dropped. A complaint. The room felt smaller, the shadows deeper. The clock's silence mocked me, but I straightened, my tea untouched. Whatever Amelia was throwing at me, I'd face it. The fight was just beginning. The police station smelled of burnt coffee and ink, its fluorescent lights buzzing like a trapped insect. I sat in a cramped office, the chair hard against my back, a manila folder open on the desk before me. Officer Daniels, a burly man, with a skeptical frown, flipped through Amelia's complaint, his eyes flicking to me as if I were the criminal. Elaine sat beside me, her blazer sharp, her presence a shield. Outside, Chicago's morning was gray, clouds pressing low, mirroring the weight in my chest. Amelia and Liam had struck back, accusing me of financial abuse for cutting off their access to my money. The audacity burned, but Elaine's steady gaze kept me grounded. Daniels cleared his throat, his voice gruff. "Mr. Thompson, your daughter and son-in-law claim you've restricted their access to family funds, causing them hardship. Care to explain?" His tone suggested I was already guilty, and my hands tightened around the pen I held, its plastic edges biting my palm. "Family funds," I said, my voice even but edged. "It's my money. They spent $10,000 of it on a watch for someone else. I blocked their access to stop the theft." The word theft hung in the air. Heavy. True. Daniels raised an eyebrow, scribbling a note. Elaine leaned forward, her voice crisp, commanding. "Officer, my client has every right to protect his assets. His daughter Amelia misrepresented expenses, using his card for unauthorized purchases. We have bank statements, receipts, and a jeweler's confirmation." She slid a folder across the desk, her movements precise. "This isn't abuse, it's self-defense." Daniels scanned the documents, his frown deepening. "This says the purchase was for a Rolex. You're saying she lied about the purpose?" His skepticism shifted, now aimed at Amelia's story, and I felt a spark of hope. "Exactly," I said, meeting his gaze. "She told me it was for medical bills." It wasn't. A memory flashed. Liam at my house years ago, promising to take care of Amelia. His smile too slick. Now he'd co-signed this complaint. His name scrawled beside hers, a coward hiding behind her venom. Elaine's hand brushed my arm, a subtle signal to stay calm. "Officer," she continued, "this complaint is retaliatory. Mr. Thompson acted within his rights. If anything, we're considering charges for fraud." Her tone was steel, and Daniels leaned back, reassessing. "We'll review this," he said, closing the folder, "but I'll need statements from both parties." He stood, signaling the end, and I felt the room expand, the pressure easing slightly. Elaine gathered her papers, her confidence unshaken. In her car, the air was warmer, the scent of leather and mint gum, a relief from the station's staleness. Elaine started the engine, her modern wristwatch glinting, a contrast to my old stopped one, a sign of the new path I was on. "They're desperate," she said, glancing at me. "Filing a complaint. That's a weak move. We've got them on the ropes." I nodded, staring out at the cloudy city. Liam's name on that complaint. Didn't expect him to step up. My voice was quiet, but the betrayal stung. He'd always been Amelia's shadow, content to let her scheme. Now he was in the fight. "He's scared," Elaine said, a smirk tugging her lips. "They both are, but we're not done. Ever thought about your will, Paul? Might be time to rewrite some things." Her words landed softly, but they carried weight, a seed of a plan. I pulled out my notebook, its pages already filled with Amelia's lies, and jotted down will. The pen felt heavy, each stroke a step toward something final. The city blurred past, and I wondered how far Amelia would go to keep her grip on me. Elaine's watch ticked faintly, a reminder that time was mine to reclaim. The notary's office was a pocket of calm. In Chicago's midday bustle, its air thick with the scent of aged paper and polished wood. I sat at a heavy oak table, a stack of documents before me, each page a brick in the wall. I was building against Amelia's greed. Elaine stood nearby, checking clauses with a practiced eye, her presence steadying me. The spring sun filtered through tall windows, warming the room, but my hands were cold as I gripped the pen. Rewriting my will, cutting Amelia out, was a knife to my heart, but also a key to my freedom. The clock in my mind ticked, no longer mocking, but urging me on. The notary, a soft-spoken woman, with silver hair, adjusted her glasses. "Mr. Thompson, this new will designates your estate to a trust with Miss Carter as executor. Is that correct?" Her voice was gentle, but the question carried the weight of finality. I nodded, my throat tight. "That's right," I said, my voice steady despite the ache. "No direct beneficiaries." The words felt like a betrayal of the promises I'd made to Ellen, to Amelia, securing her future, keeping our family whole. But Amelia had shattered that. Her $10,000 lie, a fracture I couldn't mend. Elaine caught my eye, her smile small but encouraging. "You're doing the right thing, Paul. This cuts off their dreams of your money. Clean break." Her tone was light, but her words grounded me. "Plus, I'm a damn good executor," she added, winking, and I chuckled, the tension easing for a moment. I signed the first page. The pen scratched loud in the quiet room. A memory surfaced, drafting my original will. After Ellen's death. Amelia, just 12. Her future my only focus. I'd sat up nights, planning to give her everything. Security, love, a legacy. Now I was erasing her name. Each signature a severance. The notary stamped the pages, her movements precise, and I felt a strange relief, like shedding a weight I'd carried too long. "All done," the notary said, sliding the documents into a folder. "Copies will be filed by end of day." I thanked her, my voice distant, and followed Elaine out, into the spring air. The city hummed vibrant, alive, and I felt a flicker of that energy in myself. We walked to a nearby park, the grass vivid green, children's laughter drifting from a playground. I sat on a bench, Elaine beside me, her silence companionable. A bird took flight nearby, its wings cutting the sky, and I saw it as a sign. Freedom. Hard won but mine. "This changes everything," I said, my voice low. "She's really gone now." Elaine nodded, her eyes on the kids playing. "Not gone, Paul, just not your burden anymore. You're taking back your life." Her words were soft, but they carried the strength I needed. I thought of Amelia's voicemails, her threats, and felt no regret, only resolve. "There's more we can do," Elaine said, her tone shifting, cryptic. "William, for instance. I've got some ideas, but we'll need to tread carefully." She didn't elaborate and I didn't press, trusting her instincts. The park's clock tower chimed noon, its sound clear, a reminder of time moving forward, not back. My phone buzzed, breaking the moment. William's name flashed on the screen. A call, not a text. "Paul, we need to talk," his voice said through voicemail. Gruff but urgent. "Meet me at my office tomorrow, 10 a.m. I stared at the phone, the bird's flight now a distant speck. What did Amelia's father-in-law want? The clock in my mind ticked louder, counting down to answers I wasn't sure I was ready for. The sunset painted the Chicago skyline, in hues of amber and rose, its glow barely softening. The cold elegance of William's mansion. I stepped through the heavy oak doors, the marble foyer gleaming under a chandelier's light, each prism casting sharp reflections like the truth I carried. Elaine's note tucked in my pocket had summoned me here. "William knows. Be ready." My heart thudded, not with fear, but with the weight of justice drawing near. The air smelled of polished wood and wealth, a stark contrast to my modest home. Yet I stood tall, my resolve a shield. The clock in my mind ticked, steady, marking the moment Amelia's lies would unravel. William waited in the study, his broad frame rigid behind a mahogany desk. His face, usually stern but fair, was etched with fury, his eyes dark as he gripped a velvet box. Elaine stood nearby, her blazer crisp, her expression calm but alert. "Paul," William said, his voice low, gravelly, "I owe you an apology." He slid the box across the desk, its contents unmistakable. A Rolex, the one Amelia had bought, with my $10,000, now a symbol of her betrayal. I didn't touch it, my hands steady at my sides. "You didn't know," I said, my tone even. Though my pulse raced, she lied to us both. The words were simple, but they carried years of sacrifice. College tuition, missed dreams, all for a daughter who traded my love for a watch. William's jaw tightened, his fingers trembling as he opened the box. The Rolex gleamed, its face mocking. Under the study's lights? "She told me it was her gift," he said, his voice cracking with disgust. "Said it was to thank me for my support. I'd never have taken it, if I'd known it was yours." His honesty cut through the room's opulence, and for the first time, I saw not the powerful businessman, but a man betrayed like me. Elaine stepped forward, her voice precise. "Amelia misrepresented the funds. William, we have bank records, her signature, the jeweler's testimony. She used Paul's money without consent." Her words were a scalpel exposing the wound. She glanced at me, a silent nudge to stay strong. William slammed the box shut, the sound sharp. "She's been cozying up to my business too," he said, his eyes narrowing, pushing for a role, dropping hints about investments. I thought it was ambition. Now I see it's greed. His admission hung heavy, a clue to Amelia's deeper schemes. But he didn't elaborate, and I didn't press. Not yet. I met his gaze, my voice firm. "I don't want your pity, William. I want what's right." The words felt like a vow, not just to him, but to myself, to Ellen's memory. He nodded, pushing the box toward me. "Take it," he said. "It's yours and I'll deal with Amelia." His tone promised consequences, and I believed him. I lifted the box, its weight grounding me. A tangible piece of my dignity returned. We left the study, Elaine's hand brushing my arm in quiet support. Outside, the evening air was cool. The city's hum distant. In my car, I opened the box, the Rolex glinting in the fading light. A memory surfaced. William at a family dinner, years ago praising Amelia's heart. His pride now shattered. I closed the box, my fingers steady. This wasn't just a watch. It was proof I wasn't the fool, Amelia thought. My phone buzzed. A missed call from Amelia, followed by a text. "We need to talk." The screen glowed in the dim car. Her words, a plea or a trap. I set the phone down, the Rolex box heavy in my lap, and started the engine. The clock in my mind ticked on, counting down to her next move. The morning sun warmed the porch of my Chicago suburban home, its rays catching the dew on the azaleas, their petals trembling in the breeze. I stood at the door, my hand on the knob, the creak of the floorboards underfoot, a familiar comfort. Amelia's text from last night, "We need to talk," had lingered, but I hadn't expected her to show up. Not like this. She stood on the porch with Liam, her auburn hair loose, her eyes red-rimmed, her usual poise fraying like a worn thread. Liam slouched beside her, his gaze fixed on the ground, his hands stuffed in his pockets. The sight of them, stripped of their smugness, stirred no pity, only a quiet strength in me. The clock in my mind ticked, steady, marking the end of their hold. I opened the door wider, but stayed on the threshold, arms crossed. "What do you want?" My voice was calm, unyielding, a far cry from the father, who'd once melted at her tears. The porch smelled of fresh earth, the flowers, a reminder of the life I'd built without her lies. Amelia's lips quivered, her voice breaking. "Daddy, please, we're sorry we messed up." She clutched her purse, her nails digging into the leather, a nervous tick I hadn't seen since her teenage years. The watch, the money, it was a mistake. Let us make it right. Her eyes searched mine, desperate, but I saw the calculation beneath, the hope I'd cave. Liam cleared his throat, his voice weak. "Yeah, Paul, we didn't mean to hurt you. Things got out of hand." He glanced at Amelia as if waiting for her to lead, his cowardice as clear as ever. I remembered him at their wedding, promising to stand by her, his words now hollow. I stepped onto the porch, the wood creaking under my weight, and leaned against the railing. "A mistake," I said, my tone sharp but controlled. "You spent $10,000 of my money on a watch for William, lied about medical bills, filed a police complaint. That's not a mistake. That's a choice." My words were measured, each one a stone in the wall I'd built against them. Amelia's tears spilled over, but they didn't move me. "We've lost everything," she whispered, her voice cracking. William's furious. He cut us off. "Please, Daddy, we need you." The admission hinted at deeper losses, her plans with William's business perhaps, but she didn't elaborate, and I didn't care to ask. I straightened, my gaze steady. "You made your choices. Live with them." The words echoed my earlier resolve, now a mantra. A memory flashed. Amelia at 7, pressing a crayon-drawn card into my hands, her smile pure. That girl was gone, replaced by this stranger, begging for absolution I couldn't give. Liam shifted, mumbling, "We'll do anything, Paul. Just name it." His desperation was pathetic, but it only hardened me. I shook my head, stepping back toward the door. "There's nothing left to say," I said, my voice final. The door's hinges groaned as I pushed it open, a symbol of the barrier between us. Amelia's sobs followed me, but I didn't turn back. Inside, the living room was quiet, the stopped clock on the mantel, a silent witness to my choice. I closed the door, the latch clicking shut, and leaned against it, my breath steady. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. Elaine's name lighting the screen. I answered, her voice bright. "Paul, got time for a walk?" "Park noon. We need to talk about the final step." Her words carried promise, a hint of something bigger. I glanced at the closed door, the porch now empty, and felt the clock in my mind tick, toward a future I was ready to claim. The park was alive with late May's vibrancy, the Chicago air sweet, with blooming lilacs and fresh-cut grass. I walked beside Elaine, the gravel path crunching under our steps, the sun warm on my face. In my pocket, a check from the jeweler, who'd bought the Rolex. $9,800 after fees, a sum I'd already decided to give away. The weight of Amelia's betrayal, once a stone in my chest, had lifted, replaced by a quiet freedom. Children laughed on the swings, their voices a melody of possibility, and I felt it too. A new beginning, hard won but mine. The clock in my mind ticked softly now, not counting down, but forward. Elaine nudged my shoulder, her eyes glinting with mischief. "You could have bought a yacht with that money, Paul, or at least a fancy watch for yourself." Her tone was light, teasing, but her smile held pride. She'd been with me through every step. Bank forms, police stations, the will, and now here. Her friendship was a gift I hadn't expected. I chuckled, the sound easy. "I chose peace instead," I said, patting the check in my pocket. "Kids' shelter downtown. They'll do more with it than I ever could." The decision had come naturally, a way to turn Amelia's betrayal into something good. Elaine nodded, her expression softening. Damn good choice, she said, kicking a pebble. Though I'm holding out for a coffee date. Next time you're feeling generous. Her wink drew a laugh from me, and I felt a warmth that wasn't just the sun. A spark maybe of something more, though neither of us named it. We reached the lake, its surface shimmering under the noon light. I pulled out a flat stone, skimming it across the water, the ripples spreading in perfect circles. A memory surfaced. Walking here with Ellen, her hand in mine, promising we'd face the world together. I'd lost her, then Amelia. But now I was finding myself. The ripples faded, but their impact lingered, like the choices I'd made. Earlier, I'd visited the shelter's office, a modest space with peeling paint and earnest staff. The director, a woman with kind eyes, had taken the check, her gratitude humbling. "This will change lives, Mr. Thompson," she'd said, and I'd nodded, my throat tight. The Rolex, once a symbol of betrayal, had become a bridge to something better. Elaine stopped by a bench, her gaze on the lake. "You've come a long way, you know," she said, her voice quieter now. "From socks to this. Not bad for a guy who thought he'd lost everything." Her words landed gently, a reminder of the man I'd been, the one I was becoming. I sat beside her, the bench warm from the sun. "Couldn't have done it without you," I said, meeting her eyes. "You gave me a shot at fighting back." The truth was simple but profound. She'd seen my worth, when I hadn't. A breeze stirred the trees, carrying the scent of spring, and I felt Ellen's presence, her approval. Elaine grinned, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Stick with me, Paul. I've got a new project. Community fund. Maybe could use a guy with your heart." Her offer was vague, a door left ajar, and I liked the mystery of it, the promise of a future unwritten. I tossed another stone, watching the ripples spread. The park hummed with life, and I was part of it, no longer bound by Amelia's lies, or my own doubts. Elaine stood, offering her hand, and I took it, her touch warm, steady. We walked on, her laughter mingling with the breeze, and I knew whatever came next, I was ready. The clock in my mind ticked softly, a rhythm of hope guiding me into a life I'd earned. If you liked this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. Thank you for watching.